Greetings everyone, here I am with another video, another overview video of another product. There's important notations at the very beginning of this. First and foremost, I will give most products an opportunity simply if it's cheap enough. Just because it's cheap enough and it's adjacent to a topic or subject that I cover regularly. So considering that this book right here is $19.95 on Amazon, I'm perfectly fine with giving $19.95 or $9.95 an opportunity, even if it's some kind of fringe thing off to the side. Even if it might be bad, it might be really good. It might have some good stuff I can use out of it. It might not have anything of use out of it. So I'm going to go right there. Second of all, this writer has a bit of a history of courting controversy. I don't know why that was the path that he chose. So I'm just going to leave it at that. However, I'm just going to continue over that and separate the art, the product, from the person, which is a fundamentally good position to always start from, first and foremost. So there we go. This, I have Candle Obscura right here because I'm going to point at it a few times and make a comparison to this and that here and there. So first and foremost, this book is $19.95. That book is like $40. It's solid. It's hardcover. This is soft cover. This book makes no qualms about the fact that there is some terrifying or semi-disturbing content that might be related to it. Candle Obscura is a horror mystery investigation game. You would think that would naturally be scary, terrifying content with psychological terrors and body harm. However, they have made choices in that book to warn you about not going with that whole concept. Yet at the same time, they use that concept as the basis of the book. So this book, on the other hand, just owns it. Justin LaNasa just owns the deprived monsters that these orcs are. And by the way, I do have a fondness for porcine orcs. The modern green orc, which became popular from off of the back end of 2nd edition into the modern day, is basically Warhammer orcs are slapped into Dungeons and Dragons, which is just really sad in itself. The artwork on the cover is done by Quarty. Justin LaNasa is using a new company. It is important to note that this is front and back cover, the same artist. It's a wraparound art. So there you go. It's actually not wraparound art. There's a seam right there in the art. So it's actually two different art pieces. I was thinking it was wraparound art. First and foremost, this is technically an OSR product, as it is compatible with 1st edition Dungeons and Dragons. It's classified as a role-playing game supplement by Justin LaNasa, which I don't personally believe in. Please note that Those Pesky ORCZ is a game about vile, corrupt, aberrant creatures. So if you're reading the cover, you should not be surprised that these are vile, aberrant creatures doing vile, aberrant things in it. Also, Justin LaNasa, if you happen to be watching this video, you can, because this is 1st edition compatible, you can technically go online and get yourself a little OSR icon and stick it on your books in the future if you still keep going with the 1st edition compatibility thing. That way you can tie yourself into the OSR movement. which technically this is a OSR product. As it says right here, first edition compatible, role-playing game supplement, edited by Mick Art and Jeff Leeson. Cover art is by Quarty. Interior art by William McAusen, used with permission. Design and layout by Mick Art. Dedication by Gary Gygax Jr. Ernest G. Gygax Jr. We happen to have a good range of art inside the cover. We got a full page here and a half page there, with a little section from about it by Adamantite Games and Justin LaNasa. The dedication is the standard basic Ernest Gary Gygax Jr. dedication. It's just the thing he puts in his book, in all the books he is tied to repeatedly. Personally, I think should probably update it and change it around and rearrange and rewrite it a few times so you get a little bit of variety. For whatever reason, Justin LaNasa chooses to put a poem from some old author in each of his books. This happens to be Edgar Allan Poe's published poem, Alone. You have a nice little forward here. It's very regular that there's a piece of artwork every so often. He gives you a quick introduction, lifespan, travel, languages, origins of the orcs, and so forth. Most pages will have a piece of artwork to spread out it. He even gives you the social structure of the orcs. He explains the social structure of the orcs and so forth. It's fairly quick, which I actually firmly approve of, the fact that he does that, because being very brief and concise, you can really read it very quickly, and you can get right into reading the mechanics of the system very quickly from there. Some TTRPGs have huge sections where people go on and on and on and on about the feel and the vibe of the world and how you're supposed to play and the lore, and then they throw a little mechanics section there and a section about mechanics somewhere else, and then you work your way through halfway through the book and you're all the way now discovering that this is the basics on players, how to play the game and how to create a character, which is still nestled between huge chunks of lore and how the game should feel. That can actually stifle some people, as if you keep telling them how the world is supposed to be like. A lot of dungeon masters or game masters want to create their own worlds with their own flavor and feel. A lot of players want to create their own stuff. This is a no holds, it just goes right into it. It happens to have a traits and backgrounds D20 charts, so there you go. So you can random roll. I 100% approve of random rolling characteristics. I don't always do it when I play games, but I know a lot of players who do. And being able to random roll is awesome right off the bat. So it doesn't waste your time. It's very to the point, and the problem sometimes comes up that it's a little too quick and short with explanations. I'm not a super expert on the old style games. I do know quite a bit from my research and dabbling here and there, and conversations with a lot of people who are vastly more knowledgeable about the topic than I am. So right off the bat, we go from traits and backgrounds to a key abbreviation table and your AC system here on the chart. How initiative works, blind fighting rules, your armor class rule mechanics. This is actually nice because if you went and got Those Pesky Goblins, you had an issue where there was incomplete information for armor class for various items. Right here, you happen to have armor class information for your items now. It explains very briefly the THAC 10 rule system, which this uses. I personally feel that there should be more written, maybe a longer explanation, not of just how hit dice relate to armor class, but also explaining how to calculate the armor class more precisely, because that's a serious lack here. Justin LaNasa has filled in more information than he previously did in Those Pesky Goblins. So if you got Those Pesky Goblins and you are struggling to play it, and you just end up converting and seeing first edition Dungeons and Dragons and suggest to play it, now you have a bit more information to use in this one to correct for that one. It also brings up pivot points, which is a old mechanic that Ernie Gygax came up with way back in like the early 80s or late 870s when he was really young. It's basically meant as a hero point mechanic where you can give yourself a little bonus in favor of your character by spending a pivot point. I do very much like the fact that he is very quick but also very flavorful in characterization. So much like Candela Obscura and this, there is a strong level or quality of flavor injected into explanations or of various creatures and the world in itself. However, this is more brief and more concise to the point, with some illustration of some dark humor related to the orcs. My only slight issue is that they switch back and forth between one art style of orc to another. I would have loved it if they just stuck with the porcine orcs. By the way, this is a 10 level system. It only goes from level 1 to 10 for the orcs. So you got the Marauder, the Conjurer, the Priest, the Blackguard, and that's it. And yet again, more of the modern style of not modern, but like 90s, these early 2000s style orc, along with another one of those. Still yet again. Each class is basically almost entirely a page in itself. So if you say like you have the Marauder here, this is Marauder up here, Conjurer down here, Priest up here, Blackguard right here, so it's basically a little bit over a page. You got basic charts of understanding ability scores related to the character, how many, what level of wisdom do you get an extra spell at, and so forth and so forth. You got pricing for all your items right here in copper pieces. This is a very copper piece, silver piece centric game, but there is still some use of gold pieces. Explanations on orc magic. Yet again, it's still very flavorful, but also a fairly decent amount of mechanics. It uses the segment system for this game, so you have to learn your segments. Like resist fire is 4 segments, so it takes 4 segments and the spell casts, if I got my information correctly. You go basically from your spells range between all the way up to 6th level, I do believe, for the Conjurer, and the Priest has all the way up to 5th level. Yeah, 5th level spells. You got random magic item tables. They're actually a little bit more concise and clear this time as opposed to in the past. And it also comes with a piece of with an adventure that goes into No Man's Land. I have not run this adventure. Please do note that there's actually 2 different versions of the map for the dungeon for No Man's Adventure. There you got the player map version, and you have the Game Master Map version with the key numbers on it, denoting order of the dungeon and various other things. You have various elves and different styles of artwork in here. Overall, I do strongly approve of the good range of mechanical, the good level of flavor in the explanations of various things and the world in itself. He has a very good variety of monsters for the level range that this dungeon is supposed to operate through. He has some nice demonstrations of actual puzzles in here. That's actually kind of nice. I do like the fact that not very often do you have pages where it's nothing but text. But even then, being someone who is mildly dyslexic, the fact that he uses a fairly large typeface and it's very well spaced is actually very nice. Is for people who have mild dyslexia who have struggled to read through text. So weirdly enough, in spite of people's complaints about him, he is actually more considerate in his design of his adventures and of his writing for people who have mild visual impairments or some cognitive issues with processing letters and shapes, that he actually spaces it out in a nice enough manner that it's easy to read for people who just randomly get lost in reading text. His paragraphs are not terribly long. Everything is, as I said before, is very well spaced out on the pages. It's not horrendously tight or small text. It comes with a character sheet, which this does not come with a character sheet in the back of it. So I approve of that very much. There is actually a table on the very bottom for your armor class system. So I have to say that you can just write down your D20 numbers here and take notes to fill in all your little extra information for your character. It includes a lot of artwork. You have a nice little pouch and money section on the back of the sheet. It's 2 pages, so you can you just print this off quickly and easy. Overall, so there you go. I personally have found that this is definitely, absolutely, positively an improvement over Those Pesky Goblins. Those Pesky Goblins had issues in it that made it difficult to play and use simply because there was information that was missing or that was scattered through the book that was not organized very effectively. So if you have those pesky goblins, you can use this to patch a lot of those holes. If anything, the fact that this is $19.95, I would say that this might actually be worth buying. If you want something to add to your first edition Dungeons and Dragons experience or flavor, it's not terribly expensive. You can definitely find some value in this book for your party or your group. If you want to play this, you can. You definitely have to be a bit more experienced with first edition D&D than I am to fully understand some of the details in this book. So there you go. But appears to have a lot of the issues of the original Pesky Goblins fixed in this, keeping in mind that this is still a scary... this is a game about vile, corrupt, aberrant creatures, so if you have issues with that, I'm sorry. This is definitely an improvement. I do say that Justin LaNasa still has to work on some of his mechanical writing. Some of the things need a little more explanation. I would have loved a deeper explanation of the THAC 10 system, which... for whatever, it's still a system that is still not quite clear to me. But there's definitely more information there. So I'm willing to basically give this like 3 stars. it's a workable thing. It has all the information there. The issue is, the other issue is that the information for items is spread through the book. You have the armor class information in one section, you have prices in another, and you have just some descriptions and random tables for the items in another spot in the book. It's a little annoying to have that. It's easy to go through the book very quickly and like think, oh, there's no armor class in here. There is. It's just not easy. It's not in the same section as the items. This parallels the issue that Candela Obscura had with its occupations or jobs or classes with the items, but it's more acceptable with items because items are just little bits of information that you can put on your character sheet and just piece in, where characteristics of character classes, occupations, and stuff like that is a little more meaty, and it's more fundamental to your character. An item is something your character might use a few times, and information, little bits of it, is small bits of information, not larger bits of information like in Candela Obscura. So it's a bit more tolerable. In the fact that this is 1995, I would say this is a decent buy. There's a good amount of humor in the writing, and it keeps in mind that these are orcs and these are vile, chaotic creatures with evil tendencies. It's classic orcs, not modern orcs. So there you go. If you're a little more old school, this might be worth picking up for you. If you're new school and you're just curious and you're just getting into AD&D first edition, this is easy to buy. You'll definitely get it in your mail fairly quickly. So I did myself. So there you go. So I would consider picking this up. But not before you get the official first edition advanced Dungeons & Dragons stuff like the Monster Manual, Deities and Demigods, Fiend Foil, Monster Manual 2, Player's Guide, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Unearthed Arcana up there. So those take precedence before this, but this is a nice little bit. Also note that the adventure is a lot thicker and a lot deeper than the original adventure that was in Those Pesky Goblins. So he put a little more into this adventure as opposed to Those Pesky Goblins. Those Pesky Goblins is still decent. I would put this before Those Pesky Goblins. If you have to choose between Those Pesky Goblins and this, I would buy this first because this is complete. This is all the information is here. It might take a little while reading it to have the bits and pieces click together for the mechanics, because he is not as strong in the mechanics department as opposed to the flavor department in his writing. However, once it clicks, it probably will be fine for you. Those Pesky Goblins, the other book, has a few issues that has missing information for various items and weaker writing and mechanics and some grammar issues and errors. So I would buy this first, just so if this is enjoyable to you, you can use the information from this to fill in the holes for Those Pesky Goblins. So as I said, it's a 3-star. It's not a super strong one. It's not greater than 3 stars. It's not in the 2-star category, which has, oh no, there's a bunch of issues with this, like missing mechanics and stuff like that. At least this is complete. It's just not optimally written for mechanics wise. It's good for flavor, for it has an adventure and a bunch of other stuff in it. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe, comment. If you want to hate my guts because I overviewed this item, and I gave a preliminary score on it, go ahead. I don't do this very often. I don't share this stuff. I'm usually covering something like Pathfinder 2nd Edition, or Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, or Call of Cthulhu, or the other OSR stuff like Baptism of Fire, which is very soon in the near future. This is my to-do pile for my books, and my to-do pile for my starter sets, and this is my to-do pile for Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition third-party stuff. So, there's a lot of stuff to come, okay? Oh yeah, this pile right here happens to be my Mutant Epoch stuff, and this pile happens to be my official Dungeons & Dragons adventure campaign setting books. So there you go, as well as cards and various other things. So thank you very much for watching. Have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful weekend, a magnificent month, and see you next time.